Tension started building throughout the evening.
Look at what the profession went through in 2020.
You bet it was tough being an officer during that time.
The George Floyd incident was very challenging for me.
The actual George Floyd murder was abhorrent.
Looking at it from the community standpoint, it was very traumatizing.
And when George Floyd's death takes place, that was like a shot to the gut across this entire profession.
And in policing, we are one of the few professions in the world that if something happens in another jurisdiction, whether it's in your own backyard or 1,000 miles away, there are implications and ramifications for us here.
Officers all over this agency, they knew what was taking place around the country. There was a heightened level of scrutiny on this profession. Every little thing, every move, every frame of a body-worn camera video, every single thing seemed to be going public. And it was every piece that was painting the entire profession in a very negative light.
Every time you turn on the news, you see police in a negative light. You don't see a lot of videos out there showing police in a positive light.
One of the most difficult things was convincing our own people that everybody's not against you. And one of the things I've always said was, for every one person that is throwing rocks at you or throwing bad language or verbally assaulting you, there's 1,000 people that love what you do, that admire what you do, and respect what you do. And that was difficult when all you heard through the media and social media was the vilification of this profession.
You know, the current climate of policing in this country doesn't reflect the nobility of what we know this profession to be, and what we believe by and large the majority of our community members know this profession to be. And let's face it, we deal with some negative situations.
2020 was a very, very taxing year in this field, I think all across the country, I think everyone can say. When COVID hit and officers were having to go into enforcement based on lockdowns and shutdowns and businesses having to close and people having to stay home and enforcement of the mask mandates. So you're dealing with all of that at the beginning of 2020. And then George Floyd is killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
In that period of time, it was tough. It was tough because we had it coming from all directions.
When the narrative around policing turned, and that narrative turned into defund, it turned into reimagine, it turned into abolish. And those words were floated here. We had reimagine floated here in Charlotte. The city put together a group of community members, some are activists, some are very vocal members and active members of our community, to come together and really heavily scrutinize the policies and procedures of this department. And there was a period of time where we were in weekly debriefs with City Council and the Safe Communities Committee explaining policy. Then we started working with national organizations such as 8 Can't Wait and Campaign Zero. Campaign Zero had this national effort called 8 Can't Wait. It's 8 different policies they wanted to be changed in agencies across the entire country, and they wanted compliance. And CMPD became one of only 10 agencies in the country to fully comply after we did a lot of legwork with this group, internally, externally, with City Council. At the end of the day, policy revisions weren't enough. It's not moving the needle truly on this profession and being that difference maker that can actually change the entire industry and what I believe truly is changing the world.
I think being an officer today is extremely challenging. We need to have as much support from individuals in the community, our elected officials, and even our leadership.
It could no longer be us against them. Let's see what people are feeling through their eyes. Why do they feel that way? And at the same time, how do we mend that? How do we fix it? I've been doing this job for 30 years, and that was absolutely by far the most difficult phase of my career. During the unrest in 2020, I was taking on a new police chief's job. My brother and my father both passed away within months of each other. The lowest of the low in my career. And, I kept wondering, well, how much more can be thrown at me? My wife and I, we were in the car together, and we decided just to stop and go to Chick-fil-A to get something to eat for dinner. My wife and I both were treated professionally. The staff was so friendly. Everybody you came into contact with, friendly. I felt like I was valued as a person. I literally left Chick-fil-A. I had forgotten about all the other stuff that was going on.
The chief pulled me into his conference room, and we were just having a conversation about where he was and how he was doing. And then he shared with me, he's like, you know what, Sandy? I had a good experience just the other night at going through a Chick-fil-A drive-thru. The service is impeccable. The food is great quality. It's consistent every time I go. And he said, and it kind of dawned on me, why can't we incorporate some of that into what we do every day? And I said to the chief, if you're truly talking about hospitality and incorporating more hospitality into this line of work, it's about being the best at customer service and the customer experience. It's about studying other entities and other industries and what do they do? What are their best practices? And how can we incorporate some of those into what we do?
Sandy had mentioned that she knows the person that has done some work with customer service with your Chick-fil-A, Ritz-Carlton, Starbucks, all of those names that are associated with good customer service.
The first thing the Chief Jennings said to me was, have you ever worked in law enforcement? I said, no, I haven't, honestly. And I go, I can help find you probably someone that has. He goes, nope. I don't want anyone that has any law enforcement experience. I want a total outside paradigm shift.
We sent out inquiries across the country about, does anybody have any initiatives like this? Or have you ever even referred to policing as a customer service profession? We couldn't find a single agency that had ever used that term when it came to policing. I wanted something created for us, by us. And I knew from that very first phone call that we were onto something pretty big that we needed to move forward with.
And they really helped establish the framework of what we now call CMPD Serves. They brought in a model that works across industries. This model truly does work because it's about looking at infusing hospitality into what you do every day. Every day. It becomes part of the fabric of who you are and what we do.
We want to leave positive impressions with every one of our encounters. We need to be the best part of somebody's worst day.
Thank you so much. So I'll go ahead
and if we can do that, our customer service statement is, leave a positive impression that will earn a genuine thank you.
So the consultant really helped guide us down a path, provide framework, provide some of that structure for us. We really took it from there. We had workshops where our employees came together and did a lot of wordsmithing and foundation type work to really start to build the framework of this. And I'm so proud to say this program was built for CMPD by CMPD employees, and then it was taught by CMPD as well.
Chief Jennings and Sandy and the team created a day in the life that is so powerful that just helps us know that, when we come or when, CMPD may approach that person, remember that they're a human being first and they got a lot going on. And, providing world class doesn't mean we allow the perpetrator off. You still write the ticket potentially, but you be a human first and a professional second. And then they created a day in the life of a CMPD coworker. And their customers there are dependent on each other and they have stuff going on. And so it's just really important to have compassion and empathy for everyone you're coming in contact with.
Why? Because not only are we focusing on the service, but we're also focused on the wellness of the officer themselves, making sure the officers are well internally, mentally, physically, as well as whenever they come to work is extremely important because they're your first line of defense.
The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department is the first police department or first law enforcement agency in the entire country to formalize customer experience training into a curriculum that's taught at the academy. This is massive. This is game-changing.
It's a blueprint of what we expect. It's a blueprint of our culture. And it speaks exactly to not just an idea, but specifically what we want you to say to people, what we want you to do when you're out on the scene. Go the extra mile. Know that you're empowered by the chief of police himself to say, hey, I want you to do extra things that are going to improve somebody's lot, somebody's situation, somebody's day. And if we can be a day maker to somebody, just one person, then we've done our jobs. If we can do it on a larger scale or make it to where you're doing it every single call, every single day, every single way, we're public servants at the end of the day. That's what we're here to do.
We have pillars, 3 different pillars that they need to try to achieve. Always and never statements. We will always do these things when we come to work. We will never do these other things when we come to work. And it's top of mind so that they understand where we need to be landing. We have non-negotiable standards. It's a script, if you will, to help them start and end a conversation and what that interaction should go like. And it all culminates to our experience action statement, which is leave a positive impression that will earn a genuine thank you. That experience action statement is our goal in every interaction. It took more than a year for CMPD to build this program and then roll it out. And that was really development with your people, workshopping, focus groups, making sure that it really fit the fabric and the culture of who you all are. That's imperative.
The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department is seeking solutions tonight. It's adding customer experience training for its officers.
Wow, customer service, that's unusual.
Okay. When I first heard about the CMPD Serves program and the customer service aspect of it, I thought it was the craziest thing I've ever heard. Because we're not here to serve burgers and fries. We're here to provide a genuine level of service, and sometimes the type of service that we provide doesn't look good or doesn't even sound good. But it's what we have to do.
Our folks were very literal. Some of them were very literal with taking a model that works in that world and how does it transition into this world? It doesn't. It can't. We're too unique.
We've been talking about how police train in terms of tactics, driving, firearms, defensive tactics, legal training, but never once have we talked about how do you communicate with somebody on the street? How do you communicate so that you can earn that genuine thank you or you can have a positive outcome? We never talked about that. And so when this all kind of came to fruition, it was an exciting moment for our organization. And it wasn't all well received. Let's be fair. It was people were like, wait a minute, what is this? We listened to the skeptics. We listened to the people who said this isn't going to work. We listened to the people who said this is stupid, because we wanted to hear from them. We wanted their input.
I got a call from Lieutenant Fishback, who asked me to be a part of the focus group because I'm a training officer in the Still Creek Division. Once I became a part of the focus group, my section was the experience action statement, which is to leave a positive impression that will earn a genuine thank you. We were trying to figure out how could we build the experience action statement, as well as look at some of the things that are always a nevers, which is one of our nevers is to never say no. And once we got to never say no, I was like, that's got to be the craziest thing that I've ever heard, number one. And number two, imagine us teaching that to officers. They're going to look at us like we're crazy. I didn't look at the community as my customers. I didn't look at the suspect as my customers. I always thought that this profession was, I looked at it as public service. Being the example means we have to lead from up front. And it shows that we can go into the hospitality world, take a lot of their methodology and bring it into policing, because if it works for them, it could probably work for us.
We have training all the time. We shoot all the time. I don't care if you shoot 100 every time you go to the firing range. That doesn't mean you're exempt from training anymore. So we have to continue to move forward on initiatives like this to perfect it and to be better.
If I provide a fantastic experience in every outing, but you fail to do so, we failed. as an organization. It's not just about me, it's about the collective. It is about us and how we all treat each other as well as those we're interacting with every single day. If we're off, if we've got a break in that link, if there's a weak link or, and our chain is not strong, it's going to reflect negatively on the entire brand, on the entire organization. And that's a failure. That's a failure point for us. But if we can create consistency with how you treat me, how I treat you, and then how we turn around and treat others, we win all day.
But here's the thing, anything new in our field especially is always going to be scrutinized.
It was up and down. It was a roller coaster ride. There were times when things were going really well that we thought were going well, and then there were times where we thought that we're going backwards on it. To be honest with you, there were times when I was skeptical about whether we needed to continue because there was so much unwarranted pushback that from people who had no idea what the concept was.
That's all right, because scrutiny leads us to better results. Because when we look at how we frame the program, that wasn't framed by a vendor, that was framed by our people. So there were things that were brought to the table where our people said, no, that's not going to fly. This has to be said this way. These weren't people that we just plucked out of a academy class. These were people that were veteran police officers, veteran civilian employees, people who had the credibility to stand in there and to say, this is what we need. And more importantly, people that believed in the program in the broad sense of saying, we can do things better within Charlotte-Mecklenburg.
We weren't afraid to bust down that wall and to take that step. We needed to do something different. Something needed to be different in policing.
Chief Jennings drew a line in the sand and said, this is who we're going to be, and this ain't going away. I'm going to still be talking about how this impacts who our customers and employees are.
Sometimes in policing, we settle for just good enough. This was the first program in my entire career that I had seen that said, we want to take you and make you better. And that's very important for us in this business.
Okay, and give your mom a hug. She's your mom. Give your mom a hug. Give your mom a hug.
I took the challenge. Why? Because when I looked at the entire training as a whole, there was nothing negative about the training. It's just how to be a good human being and treat people the way they would want to be treated, especially if you had a family member that called 911 and needed help.
You have a wonderful day, okay? And I hope you feel better. All right, thank you.
That's the point of this program, is it's getting them to think, wow, I am doing great work, and it can be acknowledged and celebrated in a very positive way. That is a total cultural shift.
The biggest thing that changed policing today is cameras. We have cameras everywhere, right? People have cell phone cameras. We even carry body cameras. Everything you do and say have the ability to make it on the news. The level of stress was a lot back then, but it's even more now. We don't show the good work that officers are doing out there on a consistent basis.
Where a body-worn camera is usually only petitioned because an officer is involved in shooting someone else. It's never petitioned to show great life-saving work. It's not. There's so much fantastic work these men and women, civilian and sworn, do every single day.
We have to celebrate that type of interactions that our officers have through, whether it's rewards, recognition, and sending them a card, and I'll write a note, tell him or her that you made this person's day.
For the first time ever in the history of the department, we are actually tagging BWC, the body-worn camera videos, with positive tags: life-saving, de-escalation, community engagement, positive interaction. We go out and give acts of excellence just about every week throughout the department, and we honor them, we acknowledge them.
And so thank you for your commitment to CMPD Serves, and this is who we are and what we're all about.
And we expect this to be annual training to either introduce new concepts that build on what we've already done and continues to also reinforce our foundation of this program and what's expected of our employees every single day.
We've seen the results and we've seen the traction that this program has gotten. Consistency is obtained over time, and it's obtained through repetition. It's obtained through saying, hey, this is part of our culture.
If you're going to be really intentional about it, then you need to have subject matter experts within your agency to keep this rolling. We need to have people internally saying, hey, this is what we need to do, and we're going to help you get there. So that for years and years down the road, that we're always going to have customer experience experts within our agency.
He already approved and funded for me to go through the Customer Experience Executives Academy out of Cleveland. I've already graduated from there, and I have the first certification in the country for a law enforcement employee with the Chief Experience Officer type of title and ability. The chief also approved for the very first 2 officers in the country to go through this program as well. Major Dave Robinson and Officer Jeffrey Joseph. They will be the first 2 sworn employees in the entire country to come out as certified customer experience officers.
Being the first officer to go through the Customer Service Executive Academy, it gave me the ability to take a deep dive into what the customer experience is like. It's an amazing feeling to be at the forefront of positive change.
That's the thing, is that this isn't some monumental program that says, hey, we're doing something different because we hadn't been treating people well before. So thank God we got this program. No, we've been doing it. We just formalized it. We just talked about it. We just said, hey, here's something that can help you do better, right? Here's something that can help you be better.
You know, hopefully, we're laying the groundwork for this to truly seed into the fabric of this organization. And the chief is continuing to invest in our employees going through the Customer Experience Executives Academy so that as even beyond his tenure here, even after he's long gone, it continues to be a priority of this organization.
And that's why I think the brilliance of Chief Jennings is he's created so many people underneath him that passionately believe in what he believes.
Yeah, we don't serve hamburgers. What we do serve is the community and protection for the community to keep them safe. And what we ask in return is that mutual respect to see us in a different light.
Since I got involved in a program, I took a deep look at myself personally because I always start with me. And if the program could help me change for the better and help me look at the way that I do my job for the better, if it could help me help employees that work with our agency and help them interact better with their family or even interact better with employees here at work, I could see this program sticking around for a very long time.
We want people who are going to constantly grow, constantly learn, constantly think about how we do things better. That's the important piece for us in our business. If we're going to grow and evolve and listen to what the community's asked of us, we have to be willing to be open to that. We have to be willing to give that mindset a try to say, hey, we feel like we're good at this already, but what if we were a little bit better?
But the part where we get them to win is when they use their mind.
So you want to do what CMPD's doing is, God, how can my business, whatever my business is, banking, consulting, burgers, hair salon, how can we be the CMPD of our business? The way they respect, the way they empathize, the way they educate, the professionalism, but they smile, they beat the greet, all these things. That's what's cool. That's what CMPD is trending towards.
When I talked to the chief about how I really do believe that this is changing the world, I come in every day because I think what we're doing matters. And I think this program matters. And I think it can absolutely change morale. I think it can change someone's purpose. I think it can change the world's perception on policing.
Our department is focused on making sure that the community is being treated a certain way, as well as making sure that their employees are okay within themselves.
And you can't say enough about the men and women in this department, both sworn and non-sworn, because as a team and as a united front within our agency, we've accomplished some pretty amazing things during the most difficult time, arguably, in the history of policing. We are going to continue to be that agency that's known across the country as breaking ground on new ideas, new concepts, and new initiatives. And we're not going to stop with CMPD Serves. There's still more to do.
If the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department is able to adopt this work and make it part of its fabric and what it does every single day, there's no reason any organization in the country can't do the same. And if we can solve for that and implement those tools that truly does change those relationships, we really have changed the world.